I am going to get started. So the chat is not working. So Sherry's trying to figure that out. So while she does that, I will get us started. And you can always put any questions or comments in the Q&A. Okay, so here we go. I will get the presentation up. All right, there we are. So today we're going to really talk about the 7 steps to building an engaging, repeatable employee onboarding program. We've talked a lot about why we should build, these programs, what the rationale is. We're going to talk a little bit more about that today, but we really want to focus on you feeling like when you leave that you will have the opportunity to be able to get started building your program, or if you're stuck in a spot with your program, then hopefully we can help you with this today. As I understand it, the chat is not working still, so I don't know. I can't really do anything about it right now. If we get it fixed, great. If not, maybe we can look at your Q&A and Sherry can answer questions in the Q&A section. And hopefully that will help, and I'll definitely keep an eye on it as we go through. So I also wanted to share with everyone, I've been speaking with an organization called Jumpstart Refugee Talent. And I wanted to take this opportunity when I had a great audience here to share this with you, that they're not-for-profit and they focus on helping refugees find meaningful work in Canada. I'm just sharing this because I've spoken with them. I love what they're doing. If you are looking to recruit talent and, are looking and you're interested in, recruiting people who are new to Canada, by all means, please reach out to them. This is a great organization, and Canada is a wonderful country to come to. But we really need to be able to find meaningful work when we get here. So that could be a wonderful opportunity for everyone all around. I don't know of anything similar in the US, and I know we work with a lot of US companies, and we have a lot of people from the US joining us. If there is something that you know about that we should be promoting on our sessions, please also let me know about that. I also, wanted everyone to know that oh, sorry. It's like, what are those days with technology for me? I just also want to let everyone know that I'm going to be live in Toronto on March the 8th for International Women's Day. And I'm going to be talking about what it takes to build a business as a female entrepreneur. It's called Do It Scared, Building with Butterflies, and I would love to see you there. If you go to Staples and you search International Women's Day, you'll be able to find more information about that. We're going to talk all about onboarding today, so I'm not going to talk too much about what we do in terms of onboarding, but you guys probably know that we also offer outplacement, and we know that there's been a lot of transition going on right now. So by all means, contact us if you are looking for support with your outplacement. And we've been getting a lot of calls about our retention interventions. And so this is where we come and we help you really figure out what is going on with your retention and ways to resolve that. So there's a few different elements to this. It's a kind of a proven approach we have to understanding your retention issues. So if you are having retention issues and you'd like to talk about doing a retention intervention, please reach out to us. All right, we are going to kick off and talk about the 7 steps to onboarding success. And the very first step is realizing that we have a problem with our onboarding program, right? But we haven't included that in the 7 steps because we want to give you guys as much information as possible. And we know that if you're here today, you may have realized that there is a problem that you need to fix, or maybe you have a great program and you just want to refresh it. So yes, understanding that we need to fix our onboarding program is definitely one step, but that is not something we're going to be talking about today too much. So we talked a little bit about this the last session that we ran, but as a refresher, we really believe that it's important to make the case for investment. in onboarding, because we find what happens with onboarding programs and onboarding as kind of an area of the business that needs to be looked at is people talk a lot about it, don't they? They are always talking. I don't know how many times our colleague or friends in HR have been asked to revamp or refresh their onboarding program. And it's like something you're tacking on to the other work that you're doing. But really what we want is to have that resource, that dedicated resource to making sure that you have money that you need and you have it in either your job title or your annual plan so that someone is dedicated to being that person. So getting your employee onboarding program and refreshing it, revamping it, or building it from scratch should really be on the roadmap and in an annual plan somewhere, so that kind of leadership are looking at that and thinking, okay, yes, this is definitely something that we want to take a look at, and definitely something that we want to make sure that we have objectives towards, right? We know that what we want to do, and we're going to make that happen. And it's always great, depending on your work level, or if you're a leader joining us today, that you do sponsor that program and support that program. And we really do need a voice at the leadership table saying, yes, this is a great idea. Here's why we're doing it. So that person definitely needs the talking points as to why this is worth the investment. You want to make onboarding depending on how many people you hire. So if you're only hiring maybe a few people a year, you don't want to have onboarding as part of someone's role. But if you are regularly hiring, so if you're hiring, 6 to 10 people a month, that's probably a good trigger for putting that on into an employee's role and building it in. And then you want to enter into the conversations with a rough straw man plan. So when you're going to make the case for support, you kind of want to have a rough plan. And the great news is you're here today. I think that these steps could actually function as a straw man plan for you. So we've done the work already. All you have to do is take it and adapt it for your business. And that can be a great way to get those conversations going and really build the confidence that you build the confidence that you can follow through with this plan. And sorry, I got distracted because I feel like there is a way that I can fix the chat, and I'll click on the 3 dots and it will give me the option to open it up to everyone. So I'm going to try that and let's see if we can get the chat going. So short commercial break. And let's see if I can get this working. You guys are probably like, you know how to do this. So you're like, Amy, I could do this if I was only sitting next to you right now, but I'm going to try to do this and see if I can make it work. Everyone. Okay, let's see. I might have made it happen. Everyone. Okay, Sherry, I hope I fixed it. Yeah. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. Listen, I need to take a look at my Zoom. Every time I start one of these webinars, I'm like, oh my goodness, we forgot to look at the chat. So thank you for your help so much, Sherry. I'm sorry that you can't be here, but anyway, the pro tip is to prepare a presentation with churn rates and the cost of churn. So what does that look like? That looks like taking say 20 people left your organization last year, okay? What you want to do is you want to estimate how much it costs to replace them. So the calculation is, in order to replace an employee, it takes 30 to 50% of their salary. So if you know how many people have left, if you know what their salary was, you do the math and you can share with the business exactly how much all of this churn is costing. And you know what? Of course, it's going to be costing more than that because there's going to be lost days of work, right? And if you have new hire churn, which we know that a lot of companies have very high new hire churn, you might have even lost someone who can do the handover for that work. So really what we find is businesses respond well to looking at the numbers and understanding how much is it costing. And that is a great way to make the case to get that investment that you need in your onboarding program. We have, and now, yay, now that the chat's open, Sherry's going to share in the chat where you can link to steal our slides, which you're welcome to steal. You won't get in any trouble at all. So you might have seen this at our last session, so I didn't want to go through all the details again, but we really put in the numbers there, and you can do, again, your own calculation. And we actually share it as a PowerPoint deck so that you can kind of work with it, and then you can use it as your own. So you are welcome to take those and do what you need to do with them. So the other thing that we want to make sure that we do, and this helps us make the case as well, so this might kind of be a balance of both, is that we want to understand the current state. What's going on right now with our employees? Because the worst case scenario is we try to fix something that isn't broken. And when it comes to looking at our employee onboarding programs, we want to make sure that we're actually looking at something that is a problem and that needs solving. So you want to gain a better understanding of what's working and what's not. And we've actually done this with our clients, is putting together like a working group and getting together with them to understand. And in this group, it is really great to have your senior sponsor. And if you're that senior sponsor on this call today, this is a great task for someone on your team to get started organizing this working group. So you have people are always going to be more passionate about a program that they were part of, right? So if we just go ahead and launch an employee onboarding program, we don't check in with anyone, and we don't really figure out what's working and what's not, we might not get the buy-in that we were looking for, and we might not get our stakeholders and our people leaders actually utilizing the program that we've worked so hard to build. So we're going to talk a little bit more about how to make that happen, but we definitely want to make sure that the way we do it, and we're happy to work with you doing this too, so you can reach out. We're going to reach out to you after this as well to see if you do need our help, but you can conduct interviews or focus groups with this cross-functional group. And it is really important that it's cross-functional. It's not just your L&D or your HR team. And anyone, and you should maybe get their feedback too. They might have resources they can share, and we're going to talk about that as well. So this way you don't miss anything either. And then, of course, we want to ask our recent new hires about their experience. And there's a number of ways you can do this. One of the ways is running a survey. But if you do this, you want to do this now. Because what we don't want to do is launch this great program, run the research, and then have nothing to compare it to. So when you speak to your recent new hires, you want to have consistent questions you're going to ask them versus the employees you're going to ask in 3 to 6 months. And I feel like I'm getting a bit ahead of myself, because I think we do cover this a little bit later on in the presentation. But when you are putting together these questionnaires or these surveys, in order to have this benchmark that you can compare your results to later, you also want to check in with your people managers. So you might want to have one questionnaire, one survey for your people leaders, and you might want to have one questionnaire or one survey for your new hires. This way you have something to compare it to. Now, of course, there's going to be other ways to look at the success of your program. This is about one way, one indicator of success, but people really do tend to respond well to that. So the other pro tip we have for this section is to continue to engage and update this core group, because it's very tempting, or, it's human nature. You launch a program and you're like, great, it's in place, it's going so well. New hires, we're experiencing less new hire churn, but you may want to make sure that you continue to share these updates, share the great feedback you're getting on this program, or share some of the, constructive feedback you're getting, and then look at ways that you can optimize the program as well. But this core group is going to be so important for you. And, we've talked also about setting up buddy programs in organizations, and I won't go into it in too much detail now because we've talked about it a lot. But this could be a group that could help you set up a buddy program too, and would see the value in this. There's different things with your onboarding programs that you can pilot with a smaller segment of your business if you want to test something out, see how well it works, and then you can roll it out nationally, internationally, whatever the case may be. This is a fun one because when it comes to auditing our onboarding resources, the funny thing here is oftentimes we don't know where all the resources are, right? We as HR or, certain people leaders are using one thing and other people are using another. Now, I want to be really clear that when we talk about onboarding at First 30, we're really talking about the orientation experience. We are not necessarily thinking about on-the-job training, which is very important. But when we're thinking about the programs that we are going to be building with these 7 steps, we're really thinking about that orientation program. That's what every single person in the business needs to know in order to thrive in our company, right? So thinking about things like everyone needs to take the safety training. Everyone needs to make sure that they understand our brand and our vision and mission and values. So these are things that everyone needs to have access to. So we don't always have all of our resources in one place. And that's, again, where this working group that we were talking about comes in really, really handy. So you gather all these resources that are used throughout the organization, and you might be surprised where they come from. So I would go a step further from your core working group, depending on how big your business is, and send maybe an email to everyone. And we're going to talk about comms plans shortly. But one aspect of your comm plans might be to let everyone in the business know this is something you're about to do. And then you want to ask them if they have resources that they share with their new hires, and if they can share those with you, because you might learn something great and you might say, these are not the resources that we should necessarily be using. So you can make improvements there, and then you can know what you're working with. You want to review all of the current onboarding resources, like I said. Now, you want to review them and look at, are they consistent, right? Because consistency is key when people come into your business. You want the branding to be correct, and you want them to feel like every document they're looking at is from the same company. And that's going to be really important when they get started. You want to see what's missing. You want to make sure that any mandatory training that you might need to have, it's not missing. And if you have not refreshed your onboarding program in a long time, and you're not sure about whether your safety training is to, you have all that mandatory training that is required by law, then you definitely want to check in with your legal team, or you want to speak to an employment lawyer. So that is definitely something that you want to take a close look at. We actually ran a session. If you go to the First 30 website and you look up events, we actually ran a session with Nina Gupta and Gabby Zuniga, all about mandatory training. And that's more Canadian focused. So I definitely would take a look at that. You can access that replay for free if you go to our HR events page. So you might want to take a look at that. And then you want to look, once you've spoken to some of your people leaders, is there information that new hires are seeking that is not included in their onboarding program? And I would argue that we talk again a lot about pre-boarding. This starts at the pre-boarding. And why is it important that they get that information? Because if they're coming into a business, I mean, imagine like all of us, right? You're going to an event and you don't know what the transit stop is that you're supposed to get off at. You don't know if you're going to be able to park and how much that's going to cost. You don't even know if you're going to be able to get coffee or lunch at your office. Oh my gosh, can you imagine not having your coffee on your first day? So these are really great things to think about, like what is not included, and then how can we fill that gap? I know when Sherry and I work with our clients, we make sure to talk to them about setting up that pre-boarding email template that everyone can circulate to their people leaders, so that people I can't say that sentence was going to make absolutely no sense. So the manager can send out a tailored message. They can just kind of fill in the blanks for their new hire and get that sent out to them, because you're going to have people working from different locations. You might have some people working from home, etc. Oh, I went backwards instead of forwards. And I'm still going backwards. Okay. So then what we want to do is we want to, if we're missing resources, we really want to create new resources and refresh these resources. So that is something that we want to start maybe doing on our own, but then we want to bring these resources to our working group again and make sure that they make sense and that they're all-encompassing, like everything that we need covered as part of our onboarding program is actually covered. So we definitely want to, again, we don't want to recreate the wheel, but we may find that we have these resources that look like they were created in the 1990s, right? And we want to bring them up to date. We want to make sure that we might have gone through branding changes, that everything is consistent and accurate, right? Because things change. Workplace locations change. The biggest thing that we find that changes is org charts, right? We've had a few crazy years when it comes to just churn in general, employee churn. So a lot might have changed about your business. So we absolutely want to make sure that those org charts are up to date and they look and feel current. I don't know how you guys feel about it. I'm a really visual person, so that does have an impact, and I think that it has an impact on most of us. And I actually learned at one point that even having different fonts in a presentation or on a website can lead to mistrust. So take that for what it's worth, but it's definitely something that we'll want to consider as we're looking through our resources. So I see that there's some questions, and Sherry, thank you so much. I see that you've been doing a great job, and thanks for sharing where you were coming from. I'm sorry it was a little late on that one, but yeah, so I will move forward here. All right, now, one of the big things, one of the big misses for businesses when they're launching this orientation program is that they don't use a manager guide. So what does a manager guide look like? We think at First 30 that a manager guide should really be part of the process, but it should also be like a PDF. It shouldn't be something that managers have to log on to a system to get. And they need to understand, one of the biggest frustrations we hear about from people leaders is that they don't know what their new hires are doing. And we want to make sure that our people leaders are very much a part of this process. Now, the other thing that Sherry and I talk about a lot is the fact that some of your people managers won't have hired people for a very long time. And this is a new situation to them. Like, you might be dealing with people leaders who hire a new person every month, and then you have people leaders who haven't hired someone for 4 years. So you want to make sure that they know what they're doing and they feel confident that they can support people. Now, we do have a manager guide that you can purchase on our website that is put together. It's beautiful. It's not going to tell them about your specific program, but it will help your people leaders be prepared. It has an email template they can send out to their new hires. So you can look that up under our onboarding page on our website. If that is something that you would like a quick win right away, that might be a good way to get started. And you'll see some samples of what that looks like. When we look at our programs, of course, when we develop an onboarding platform for a client, we make sure that they have an onboarding guide for their managers that goes through everything that their employee is experiencing as they go through the program. We also put in our program, and this is something you might want to look at as terms of evaluating, is looking at how many people have accessed the program, and checking on how they're utilizing all of the resources in the program. Okay, this is kind of where we really work with our clients, is in automating the program. So there's multiple ways that you can automate your onboarding program, and we'll talk a little bit about that. So you want to ensure that the option that you have for automating your onboarding program is engaging. And we know that there's a lot of great HRIS and LMS out there that our clients use. And sometimes we're told, oh, but we have a system that does this. Maybe is what we would say. When you have something that's built for one purpose and that is what it does, that can often be the best solution because it's not just a SharePoint. It's not just a place where you can put information that people have to access. A great onboarding program, we say that onboarding, you probably heard me say this before, it shouldn't be an avalanche of information, right? It should be a babbling brook of information, because memories are fragile when people start their job and they may not remember what happened. So they need to be able to go back and they need to know where they can find things. And you want to make sure that when you automate your program, that it is repeatable, because you don't want anybody having to recreate it again. And you also, when you're thinking about automation, we work with a lot of teams who they have, and it is great. We think that technology should enable human connection. That is a big, we really are big believers in that. It shouldn't be a replacement for, and we think it's really important if part of your program is your HR team meeting with new hires on their first day, that's amazing. That shouldn't change. But what we're saying is we don't think that the HR person should be responsible for that entire orientation. And that entire orientation should happen within the first 2 days. Because again, people are like, think about when you started a new job. You're nervous, right? You're overwhelmed with information. You're meeting all these new people. It's really difficult to remember everything you've learned. And then if you have to go complete a task that you've already been taught how to do, it's really good, might affect your confidence if then you have to go back and feel like you're asking a stupid question. And I know we would say there's no stupid questions. It doesn't mean that's how your new hire is feeling when they have to go ask that question. So the way, and like we said, HRIS and LMS may include in onboarding functionality, but my guess is that is not the primary purpose that you have them in the organization. But so they may and are likely not built for this purpose. So they may not be as effective in building that engaging, repeatable onboarding program that takes people through that babbling brook. When you look at our program, this is how our program is designed. So you would have your first day and your welcome. And then they would go through, and every day they'll be getting an email that's like, you're on day 3 now, click here to go to day 3. And they would go to each day of the program. You can put links in it. You can put PowerPoints or PDFs in it. And it can link to any safety training, etc., that you already have, but it's presented in this sort of day by day experience. And then what our clients love about this platform is that it takes all of that content. They can access their resource library at any time from the drop-down menu, and it organizes everything. So they know exactly where to go back to find any of the task-based training that they might have forgotten when they go to file their first expense, or they are looking for their tax information, which I'm sure a lot of HR teams are getting called about now. You won't be getting called about that because you can direct them right back to their resource library. And because this platform is fairly memorable, they will remember to get that. And we also send out reminders to them. So the sixth step is to run a comms campaign. So communications, and actually, if any of you missed it and we're not on LinkedIn, by all means, connect with me on LinkedIn. I actually ran a really great session with Ron Tite, and it's on LinkedIn. You can click on the video on there if you search my activity. But he was talking about how HR and marketing should work better together, or can work better together. Maybe in your organization, it's a really effective partnership. But one of the things when it comes to running a comms campaign, don't do it all by yourself. Look at your marketing team if you have one, or if you have people who work with your business as a subcontractor in marketing. That's a great way to get the support you need, because they might have systems in place that can be so helpful to you in order to send out a company-wide communications. So you want to make sure, of course, that you are creating this communication to get people managers excited about this program, knowing this program is going to come, when they can use it and how they can use it. I would say one of the biggest mistakes that companies make is that they wait until the onboarding program is launched and then they send all the information out. We suggest that you send the messages about what's coming, what you're doing, how you have a working group. You're already going to be asking them if they have resources that can help. So that's good. And then you want to, obviously, they should know when the launch date is happening for this program. And then you want to continue to send messages after the launch so that you can keep them engaged. What you don't want to happen is to have, like I said at the beginning, this really great program that you've put together and then no one ends up using it, or it gets less use than it should. And then keep engaging with your people leaders when they hire somebody, and you can resend them all the details of the program. Now, maybe you have a system in place already that can help you automate a lot of this. And then maybe you work with your marketing team to get them to help you to automate it, so you're not having to, you might have to do some of it manually, but maybe there's some way to set it up in an automated way so that you can, who the person getting hired is, who their manager is, you click a button and everybody gets everything they need. So I already, like I said, engage your marketing team for support if you need it, or your corporate communication, corporate comms team if you have one, because we do think that the corporate communications are pretty critical to the success of the program, because it's like when First 30 started. You can't use a business you don't know exists, right? So it's the exact same thing with your onboarding program. People can't use a program that they don't know exists. And finally, I feel like we're going to finish a bit early today because, Sherry, I don't have our regular banter going back and forth. So you'll get a bit of the gift of time today. But the other thing that you want to make sure you do is you want to collect feedback and continue to refresh this program. I mean, when we work with our clients, there is a long life for the onboarding program, but every so often, resources will change and those will need to be refreshed. Something I'm thinking about that changes every single year would be your annual plan, right? Or your annual reports. And maybe you want to include those. So you definitely want to make sure that you do continue to refresh the program and continue to collect feedback. And you can run some pulse checks. Like we said, we say start collecting this feedback before you launch the program. And then you can continue to check in with your new hires and see and evaluate their changes in satisfaction, but also be keeping track of program participation, right? We notice if we don't have an email campaign attached to the program for the first 30 days, you can get a little bit of drop off, which is why we strongly advise our clients to either work on their own or with us to make sure there's an email that lands in that new hires email inbox every day that they're in that program, so they keep getting reminded to go back to it. So we make sure that we have very strong participation in our program. And you want to offer opportunities. In our program, we include, so we have a lot of modules that are included in our program. We have some diversity, equity, and inclusion module. We have a learning curve module. We have a module about making a great first impression, which is really good for new hires. It's also particularly good for sales team leaders. But you want to also include manager check-ins throughout the program, right? So that they're remembering to go back to their manager. It's not all self-directed. You want them working with their manager. And towards the end, you probably want an HR check-in as well, and then have your new hires talking to you directly about their experience. And then the other thing you're going to want to do is not just track their feedback, but you want to see the performance of the program in terms of reducing that new hire churn. So and we often get asked the question, well, what does it really mean, new hire churn? Like, how long do you have to look? Some companies look at it from 18 months, right? If anyone leaves before 18 months, that is something is wrong with the onboarding program and we need to fix it. You can look at the first 3 months, the first 6 months, the first year, and the first 18 months. And if I were sitting in an HR position, that's what I would be doing. I would be tracking it over those time periods, and then you can feed your progress back to the business. So, and if you have this amazing onboarding program, which people are responding really well to, maybe there's something else going on, and that's why new hires are leaving the organization. And yeah, I just want to reinforce this point. I know we mentioned it before, or I mentioned it. I always feel like I have Sherry at my side. So when we are running our program, we want to make sure that we've got that feedback that we can benchmark to, because we want you to look like a hero in your organization. We always think that, like, our clients always tell us how amazing they look when they launch our onboarding program. I mean, we want you to look like that when you launch your onboarding program, whether you're working with us or not. So it's really hard to show your progress and the positive results unless you've made sure to track what's going on before the program is launched. So that is the rationale for getting that survey out there. And again, if you work with our team at First 30, we help you with that survey. So definitely something that's really important to do. You know what, that's all. I'm gonna actually look and see if there's any questions that we should talk about as a group here. We're gonna send an email out to everybody as well, so that you can connect with us if you want to talk to us about the program. Oh, thanks, Sherry's always by my side. I haven't been looking at all of the comments, but thank you so much. If there is something that you think everyone else should know that we haven't covered, by all means, throw it in the chat. We love to hear from everybody about your experiences and things that we might have missed as well. You can definitely connect with us on LinkedIn. And Sherry, if you don't mind putting up that link to the Women's Day talk that I'm doing next week, that would be great, because I know we missed that at the beginning. I'd love to get to, oh, thanks so much, Massimo, for joining us. It's great to see you. But if you'd like to come and we can meet live next week, I would love to see you. It doesn't cost anything to join. It would be just such a great opportunity to meet some of the people in this group, and we really love having you here at our sessions. And of course, if you need, this is some feedback we've recently received from a client about their program, and we made sure they tracked their employee feedback before they launched the program as well. So that was really nice to see, and we often see that with the work we do with our clients. So Thank you very much for joining. It was so great to kind of interact with all of you to the extent that we could. And please feel free to reach out if you have any questions, if you think that we can help you at all. We always love to hear from you. I will stop the recording in a minute and I will sit here for a few minutes just to take questions. But for anybody that's got to run, have a great day. Enjoy the gift of time. And we hope to see you. We'll be sharing more information about what we're doing next in our next session. But for the moment, I will just stop this recording and then I'll stay on for a few minutes in case you have any questions.